Welcome to yet another exciting video, in this case episode 10 of my Star Trek The Original Series episode breakdown video series. In this video I'll be looking at Season 2 episodes 54 and 55 of Star Trek The Original Series or Generation to identify historical references which can be used to determine the original history of the Star Trek universe. The episode order I'm using is the production order. In order to understand the development of the history or vision of Star Trek, we need to study the episodes in the order they were written. While I'm uncertain of the exact writing order, the production order is about as close as I can confirm. The episode order information as broadcast is also included. Special thanks to the transcripts which can be found on the Chakotay site. When Gene Roddenberry created Star Trek back in 1966, he had a vision which remained basically consistent. When The Next Generation was released in 1987, Gene's vision had changed, and the past needed to change in order to be consistent with this new vision. This video series will look at the original vision of Star Trek, starting with the earliest source material. Any historical facts from later sources which contradict the earlier episodes will be assumed to be in error for this video. Minor changes in nomenclature can be excused. The Omega Glory is the 23rd episode of the second season. It was the 54th episode produced. Its star date is unknown, and its original air date was the 1st of March 1968. In this episode, we're introduced to another planet, in this case Omega 4. Omega 4 was another parallel Earth, with Asians conquering the Americas of this world. Now, many years later, the original Americans are retaking their country. In the episode, we're introduced to the USS Exeter, which is another sister ship of the Enterprise. Omega 4 was yet another parallel Earth with Asians conquering the Americans equivalent. Now, many years later, the original Americans are retaking their country. It's a surprisingly accurate parallel Earth, and finding two of them within range of Earth is extremely unlikely. Finding one was extremely unlikely based on probability. But anyway, that's the TV series. USS Exeter is a sister ship to the Enterprise. We have now identified another starship. Assignment Earth is the 26th episode of the second season. It was the 55th episode produced. Its start date is unknown, and its original air date was 12th of January 1968. In this episode, the Enterprise goes back to 1968 to do a historical study when it intercepts Gary 7, an alien trained Earthman who is tasked with preventing World War III. We discover there's another alien race and also presumably another alien planet, this time unknown, advanced and benevolent. Gary 7 was sent to Earth because two agents, Agent 101 and 347, died in an automobile accident. While this is possible, it does seem unusual agents similar to 7 would die in this manner. I always wondered if there was some force acting to stop the agents' activities. Remember, in the Star Trek, the original series timeline, World War III did occur, possibly not for another 10 to 12 years, but nonetheless, this would imply 7, Gary 7, and the force supporting 7 failed. In this episode, Gary 7 mentions another planet, Omicron 4. In this case, it was almost destroyed, or it destroyed itself due to its nuclear arms buildup. This is obviously an alien planet, and in 1968, the Federation does not exist, so it's not part of the Federation. The main key takeaways from this episode is there's not really much, apart from a hidden benevolent planet, which I'll call Gary's planet. I wonder if Gary 7 changes the timeline and prevents World War III, which destroyed the original series timeline and gave us the Next Generation timeline. This is more possible than my earlier theory when the Enterprise accidentally journeys to Earth, or when it did accidentally journey to Earth, which may have triggered this event. It's possible that by failing to stop Gary 7, the original series timeline is no more. Or perhaps there is a split and there are two timelines, which could be more likely. God, this is really speculation. Many of the latter Star Trek movies and shows do not align with the original vision of the series. This is common in real history as late historians attempt to change the past to justify their beliefs in the present. As I personally enjoyed the original vision of Star Trek, I would hope future movies and TV shows would go back to its original roots. However, I doubt this will ever happen. And this concludes episode 10 of my Star Trek The Original Series episode breakdown video series, in this case covering season 2, episodes 54 and 55. Alle guten Ding, kommen zu einem Ende.